Hey, anatomy and physiology class. I am out at a funeral for one of the congregates at my church, and I'm going to be back tomorrow. We talked about this yesterday, but just reminding you, we're still going to go through 6.3 with this video. You're still going to do the 6.3 workbook, which will be due Friday. We're still going to do a review tomorrow, right? But for now, let's work on the 6.3 notes. So our big ideas here are the anatomical structures of the olfactory sense and the taste and how those work, right? In the taste, we're also going to talk about the reasons we have 5 different tastes and what chemicals kind of give those to those. And we're going to talk about chemicals because these are both chemoreceptors. So the receptors are triggered by chemical bonds, right? Taste has 4 types, even though we have 5 different taste sensors that work together to get that fifth one. And smell is going to have a whole bunch because, again, we have different receptors for different molecules. They work together and complement each other to give us a depth of sense, right? But they respond to the same stimuli, which is those chemical bonds. First, let's talk about olfaction. Olfaction is your sense of smell. It's going to work through the nose, way up at the top of the nasal passage. There are long hairs called olfactory hairs. They're really cilia, all right? They are cellular, very, very small, all right? Lots of surface area for those receptors, right? And as a chemical comes into your nose and up into the top of the nasal passage, it's going to dissolve into that mucus that's up there and it's going to bond to your olfactory receptor cells. That is going to trigger a electron cascade, right? And an action potential all the way into the olfactory filament and the olfactory nerve, all right? That's not very far, so this happens very, very fast. Where we're going to interpret those smells in the cortex, right? So it looks like this, way up in the nasal passage, behind the eye almost here, all right? And it's going to have air coming up through the nose. The molecules bond to the mucus as they're dissolved to the olfactory hairs, which send signal along the olfactory nerve. The olfactory bulb here is just a portion of that olfactory nerve. Taste buds are, on the other hand, are located on the tongue, the soft palate, and cheeks of the mouth. So all over the mouth, all right? These are going to have a few different things, but most of them are these fungiform papillae here that you see called out on this image of a tongue. And they're going to house the receptor organs for taste, right? These receptor organs are going to be inside the papillae. They're taste buds, right? We're going to have them in a few different places, all right? And the papillae are going to have a couple different ways that they present. Filiform papillae are sharp and don't have taste buds in them. They're to help your tongue move things around in your mouth, increase surface area. The fungiform papillae are more rounded and they have taste buds in them. And the circumvallate papillae are larger and have even more taste buds. Right? Circumvallate papillae are the biggest, have lots of taste buds. Fungiform are smaller, rounded, have less taste buds. Filiform, sharp, very, very thin, and no taste buds. All right. They're always found on the sides of the papillae, like you can see in this diagram. They're not at the top. So they're not on the surface of the tongue, really. They're in these crevices. Right? And these long gustatory hairs in the papillae or in the taste buds themselves are going to be what are stimulated by the chemicals. Since they are down in those crevices, all right, we're going to think about these chemicals being dissolved in saliva, which is why when you have a very dry mouth, you don't taste things as much, like after you eat a lot of bread or crackers. Impulses are carried to the gustatory complex through cranial nerves. We talked about these when we talked about your different nerves. The facial nerve, glossopharyngeal nerve, and the vagus nerve are going to carry these because taste buds are in different areas of your mouth. So different areas of your mouth are going to give it to different areas of the cranial nerves. You don't need to know which is which. Just know that these 3 are the ones that carry the signal. All right. So you don't need to know that facial nerve is 7, but know that it's one of the 3 that carries impulses from the papillae gustatory cells to the gustatory complex. Right? As you age, taste buds can be damaged and replaced by basal cells in the tongue, which is why older people don't have as sharp a taste sense. It's not as precise. Right? We have 5 taste sensations I want you to know. All right. And I want you to know which chemicals or molecules are going to give us each of these. So sweet receptors are going to respond to sugars. That makes sense. All right. So saccharins, monosaccharides, disaccharide, all that kind of thing, as well as some amino acids that will taste sweet because they have the same chemical shape as a sugar. Sour receptors are going to respond to acids. All right. And we know acids are heavy with hydrogen ions. They are hydrogen ion donators from chemistry class. So that makes sense that it's hydrogen ions or acids. Bitter receptors are going to come to alkaloids, right? While salty is going to respond to metal ions. If we think about table salt, sodium chloride, that makes sense. The sodium is your metal ion there that the taste buds are going to actually respond to, which is why things like MSG, monosodium glutamate, taste salty, right? But they work together with the glutamate part of that molecule to give us this next one, umami, right? So umami is that meaty taste, that beefy taste that you might respond to as a savory association, right? And it's going to respond to an amino acid, glutamate. It's very, very present in meats, but also in some other things that we eat as well. Right? That's the rest of it for this unit. It's a pretty short unit. As such, this test is worth half the points of the other test. It is going to be shorter. It's a little easier. But as you wrap up today, make sure you do 6.3 workbook. That starts on page 175 in your workbook. It's all of number 23 and all of number 25. You can get those done today and show them to me tomorrow, but they aren't due until Friday. If you've got questions, shoot me an email. I will respond later today when I get home. I'll check my email from the funeral. That way you don't have to wait until 6:30 in the morning. I'll see you tomorrow.